I do think we should talk about Sam Sulek, so I need to fill the audience in.
Yeah.
So Brandon Williams, the guy he works for, makes these highly edited, very good storytelling videos about fitness. They're like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, around 10 to 15.
10 to 15 minutes. And there's this new guy in the fitness space called Sam Sulek, and he makes videos every day or two, and they're 40 minutes long, and they have like 4 cuts of video, and it's literally him going to the gym. There's no music. It's a screenshot for the thumbnail. The title is relatively the same thing with a changed date. So winter bulk day 1, winter bulk day 2, screenshot thumbnail, and it's a 40-minute long video. And when I clicked on it, it was like, dude, how could this do, like, it blew my mind knowing like the current state of YouTube, but at the same time, like, it does feel fresh and like, I'm curious your perspective on like, why do you think he also is succeeding right now?
Yeah.
And he's succeeding extremely well.
Yeah, he's doing amazing. And I think for a lot of people looking at it at first, it was definitely a surprise. You were saying that it feels fresh, it feels new, right?
Yeah, it does feel fresh.
Yeah. So I think if you look back on just a study of what type of content was most successful from the dawn of YouTube to now, things go in phases, they go in cycles. It's the same thing with fashion, right? Like, there was a time where, like, let's say shorter shorts was cool, like all of our dads wore them, and then we were in like middle school or whatever, and everyone wore like the baggy, longer, like basketball shorts. And then now it's back to like maybe something a little more, or a couple of years ago it was like there's the chubbies, right? And like everyone wore those, and then it went a little more like in between. So I think on one end, I think that from a style perspective, things go in cycles, and people get kind of sick of one style of content, and then when something new comes into play, it's refreshing in that way. But also, a big part of the movement of the trend towards higher edited content, where it's very curated, and there's so much intention down to the each frame in the video on where things are cut. That was definitely accelerated by beastification or Mr. Beast. His intention wasn't to do that, and he doesn't like seeing all these people copying him verbatim. His perspective on how he views success is building that business as much as possible, making the best video possible. And his perspective on what is the best video possible is a video that performs, a video that has great retention all the way through, super high click-through rate. Everyone watches his videos. So because of that, and he's become the most successful YouTuber metrics-wise, a lot of people, the majority of people on YouTube follow suit. And with that, there's this trend, right? Because Sam comes in with this complete switch up, like just the most raw form of content where he's pressing record. He throws the different clips together where he stops recording and throws it into the video. He has that, which is new, different from what's out there. He also has a great personality, and he has a just pace of talking and also tone of voice that's easy to listen to for a long period of time. And then also one thing that he does have going for him that I think is a little contradictory to those first points on why he's successful is the fact that his body himself, he is a spectacle. This man if you haven't seen him before, he's massive. He looks like a gorilla, honestly.
Oh.
And people see that, and you know, for someone, if you think about it from the thumbnail perspective, if you're online and for someone to even discover him in the first place, one of the reasons that they even maybe clicked on the video is because they see this massive dude, right?
Yeah.
And they're kind of curious. It catches their attention, but then he's developed a ton of noise around the fact that eventually he'll probably be this very successful bodybuilder, and he's very young. And with that combination of things, plus the fact that he provides a ton of nuggets of value from the perspective of someone who has successfully built their physique in a way that for a lot of bodybuilders is kind of their ideal goal. There's a huge audience out there that, one, wants that knowledge, two, enjoys the kind of hangout, like almost like you're vicariously going to the gym with him type of vibe. And three, I think they also kind of develop this sort of parasocial relationship with what he's doing.
I think there's even more that's coming to my mind. I think it's also frequency. So like in the beast world, right, if you're trying to make the most highly edited, best possible, planning the thumbnail story before filming, highly edit it, if you're going for the best possible product in that way, then you simply can't post the frequency he's posting. He's posting every other day. And so I think when it comes down to almost what we were talking about with the podcast, which is like people feel like they're hanging out with him, it's like if you have like a best friend, or let's say even a girlfriend, you want to see your girlfriend like 2 to 3 to 4 times a week, not like once a week. So it's like it gives people that opportunity to like hang out with them. My best friend that I go to the gym with, he's a huge Sam Sulek fan, and I was like trying to just YouTube analytics, like try to understand him because he's not in my world at all. So I'm like, why do you like him? Why do you watch him? I'm like, what's the appeal? And he's a hip hop producer, so he makes beats. And he says he'll like, while he's making beats, he'll just throw like a Sulek video in the background. But you wouldn't throw a Brandon Williams video in the background because you need to watch it. You need to watch for the story, watch for the, and another thing that comes to mind, which I always think about, is I was an economics major before I dropped out. Everything is supply and demand. The more you have of something, the less it's worth. And people copy the top. So when Casey Neistat and David Dobrik were at the top, everyone started making vlogs. That's when I entered. I made vlogs. Now Mr. Beast is at the top. Everyone's making Mr. Beast style videos. But basic supply and demand. The more you have of something, the less it's worth. So the more Mr. Beast-esque videos exist, the less people will want to watch Mr. Beast because it's out there so much. Basic supply and demand. And so it's interesting when I'm seeing like Sam Sulek succeed. Well, first of all, I know that there will be a wave of people who follow him, but also just basic supply and demand. You can't get that anywhere else. And even before Sam Sulek, my friend Ryan Ng was talking to me about this, and he's like, it's not that slow. I think people sometimes think, which I did myself, is like fast content succeeds and slow content doesn't. It's not that. Like audience has like YouTube has an audience of maybe over 1 billion people like have YouTube. It's like built into Google phones. Everyone at Apple gets it. And so it's like before Sam Sulek, there was people creating like woodworkers who would make 3-hour videos about building a chair, very little edits, and they would get 10 million views, but they're just not in our world, so we don't see them. And there's friggin' tribal guys who build huts in the woods getting 10 million views for a 45-minute long video. And so it's like slow content was always succeeding. It just wasn't in our world. And so it was almost like that's something that gives me hope. And even when I, going back to supply and demand, when I think about podcasts, it's like 99% of podcasts are indoors, probably because podcasts rely on sound quality. And if you're outdoors, you got to worry about your environment, the weather, the sound. And trust me, I've had many issues with that, but I hope that supply and demand, very much less people are making podcasts outside. So I'm hoping it creates a higher demand. But I don't know. I just threw a lot at you.
No, yeah. I'll try and touch on all those points. So when it comes to the whole supply and demand thing, I guess that is kind of another way of thinking about the fact that, you know, with the trends and how they change.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, Sam's doing something extremely different. You can't get that anywhere else because also Sam is a very specific type of personality, and he's very true to himself. But people will follow suit, and people will try to do what he does, and it goes in that cycle. I think another thing to talk about is the fact that while Sam is not putting out these long videos extremely frequently with the intention of, I know that will feed the YouTube algorithm, it is.
Yeah.
So that was something that I'm happy you touched on that.
Yeah.
So, and you can talk, I can say this with the word algorithm, or I can say this with audience, but the way that the algorithm works is it's not just this AI that's like going to push something because you plug in all the right bits. The algorithm is really, it reflects the audience's viewing habits, right?
Yeah.
So one, he has developed a viewership that is much more of a passive watching audience, right? They passively consume that content. Like you said, your friend, he'll produce beats just with Sam in the background. I've been even like in the gym, like not even like really like watching his content, just listening to him talk about certain things, or doing chores or whatever it may be. It really is kind of that type of podcast vibe in a way. But with his probably intention of putting out something that's a little way more authentic, he has all this watch time, right? There's these 40-minute videos, and you combine that with an audience that is passive and willing to watch through all of that really likes him for who he is, on top of the posting frequency, it's a recipe for success. So yes, that even though right now it's more, I guess, unconventional, he has probably unknowingly positioned himself in a way where he's getting pushed and out to the, you know, homepage and getting suggested to new audiences. And so it's a perfect storm, really, I think.
Yeah. Something else I just thought about, like, so we're talking about supply and demand in terms of like YouTube content. Like, no one's making 40-minute gym videos besides him right now. But it's also supply and demand to internal value. And so I used to work for Marco, the shoe YouTuber. And what I would say is, like, it doesn't really matter if people copy him because he's such a talented artist that even if people were copying him, they couldn't recreate what he's doing because he has years of art. And so it's like, I could say the same thing for Sam Sulek. It's like, people can and will copy him, and some will succeed, but his physique is so crazy.
His personality.
So, like, inherently, his supply and demand is more valuable just by that.
Right.
And that's something, like, I think about too, that I'm trying to think about thinking about myself in my personal brand is, like, when I'm reading books, when I'm consuming content, when I'm waking up, attending church, every little thing that I do is a part of my personal brand. And it's not just the style videos I make, but it's who I am as a person by supply and demand. Is that inherently valuable? And that's, like, interesting. Even, like, as you, it's like, the reason you're on my podcast right now is not because you personally have a big, YouTube channel or that, but I know that your knowledge, like your inherent supply and demand, is valuable, and so that's like something to think about as well.
Yeah, definitely. What you had said about the fact that, there are going to be people that follow Sam or Marco, who I've done some consulting for, actually.
Oh yeah, Marcus.
Yeah, he's great. And, those are those people are not, they're different from the norm. They act differently. They're unique, and like you said, you can't find that anywhere else. There are going to be people that try to emulate what they do, but the issue with that, and this really kind of goes back to at the very beginning when you were talking about the fact that a YouTube consultant would probably tell you, oh, you need to look at all these different podcasters and see what do they do, and then implement it into your own thing. The issue at hand is people will see what they do and then try to make a copy of that for themselves. And if you're not involving your own taste, what really like lights a fire in your chest, what you're really passionate about, you're never going to be as good as the original.